is Ipification and their alliance with Hitachi. This is slightly different from what we've seen with most of the others, and really offers some different ideas on how our technology could be integrated with somebody. Personally, I'm quite excited about this. I think it opens up a lot of possibilities that we actually hadn't thought of ourselves until we met Jim and Mark at an event late last year. So it's been an interesting journey for both of us, and now we've got what looks like a really interesting demo, and hopefully everybody will find that insightful this afternoon. Next slide, please, Jim.
Okay, so Andy, I'll cover this one, then there's a couple of yours to follow. So, yep. So thanks very much for the intro, Andy. I mean, at Ipification, I've got some slides later in the deck to introduce to you who we are and what we're about and what our technology is based on. But you know, overall, in terms of a joint proposition, we very much see this as being an opportunity to deliver collectively with the guys at Hitachi a passwordless, low friction 2FA login model. So multiple touch point on desktop or any other digital device, but using mobile authentication technology that we have developed. So our service is a patented service that delivers authentication via device, SIM and phone number data from the mobile operator side, and we use that as an additional factor to secure what we would call a possession factor as a complement to other authentication modes, in this case the Vein ID 5 from Hitachi. So we see this as being something that is mobile enabled, but with security absolutely at the fore. So capitalizing on and addressing some of the mobile authentication issues that are out there in the market, something that delivers a super low friction UX. So we like to think that we're remastering mobile authentication and looking afresh at how that works, with user and enterprise privacy absolutely as a priority. And really our mantra is around simplicity as a driver. So keeping the integration simple, making sure that the UX, the user experience is great, and being agnostic to the service. So working with the guys in Hitachi, I think fits very well into that from an Ipification point of view. And I think we're very much aligned with the team there on how we're going to move forward on this one. So that's that slide. Andy, over to you.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the interesting thing is we're starting today where we're talking about our version that's going to be running on a laptop and using the standard laptop camera. But actually, I think this is going to be an interesting journey as we move to mobile platforms as well. I think that there'll be some additional integrations and some additional work we can do. But sticking to what we're here to talk about today, replacing the password and replacing the way we authenticate a user away from traditional mechanisms of a username and password is something that we've been working on for a while. So Hitachi have had the Vein technology for 20 years, and that's enabled us to develop this quite extensively to understand and to capture that information from the user. Now, with the advent of the better cameras within laptops, we're now able to capture a vein pattern from the user's fingers simply by them holding their hand up to the laptop camera. And then by using the OpenID Connect technology, we can integrate that into lots of different platforms. And that's what we're going to talk about in more detail today. Next slide. So, as I said, they hold their fingers up. We take the information from their fingers, we process that into an encrypted template that we then store securely and we use to match to the users. Now, one of the differences is with our traditional finger vein readers, we were able to do a one finger match to a user, whereas with our mobile, with our laptop-based technology, we're now looking at capturing up to 4 fingers and then matching against multiple of those to ensure we get the correct level of authentication. But the whole process is encrypted, and never at any stage is an image in any of our products captured of the veins an image stored in any way. Everything we capture is turned into a mathematical template, and that is then stored encrypted. So Jim's now going to talk a little bit more about the integration and how this will work with Ipification. So back to you, Jim.
That's great. Thanks, Andy. So forgive me, I've gone right to the top just to introduce our business to any of you who aren't aware of who we are and what we do. But before I go into some of the detail, I just wanted to say that when we spoke with Andy and Adam and the guys at Hitachi at the event a few months ago, we were immediately struck by how similar the objective is in terms of everything that Andy just said around passwordless, around security, and around frictionless UX with what we're trying to achieve in the mobile space. So the opportunity for us to work across the mobile and the fixed, across the consumer and the enterprise, is super strong, and we're very, very keen to be doing that with the guys at Hitachi. So Ipification have been around for 2 or 3 years. We are part of a company called Benefit Vantage Limited based in Hong Kong, and our business is developing mobile identity, cybersecurity, data protection and other solutions globally for clients based all over the world. The Ipification solution is effectively an IP-based operator discovery, authentication and verification mechanism using technology from the mobile operator side to deliver multiple use cases for our end customers. We're operating across 9 locations in 4 continents, and we have current live implementations with 18 mobile operators and a pipeline of many more in the implementation phase at the moment. Very, very briefly, where we are currently working right now, we're live in Peru, in Montenegro, in Europe, Cambodia, Vietnam, Macau, and Hong Kong. These are our initial markets that we focused on, and we're now rolling out in multiple other markets, mostly in Europe and MENA and Southeast Asia markets. So big news, we're working with the operators in Indonesia, in India. We've got some great work coming on with Spain and some of the other European countries. So this is the beginning of our story, but we are making great strides to accelerate the deployment on the operator side, in order to provide the supply that we can then fulfill in terms of the demand from the customer base. So that's the overview. Now the tech, and then we'll talk about what we've done with Hitachi. So really the proposition from our side is around looking at how we can evolve and replace some of the issues that are currently out there with authentication from the mobile side. So our mantra is around the bridging of security and simplicity. We are a secure IP-based HTTPS solution that marries a frictionless UX with a zero trust security model. So we do not trust a mobile device. We do not trust the mobile user who owns that device. Everything that we do is around using the mobile operator data itself, the signals and the data and the technical architecture of a mobile operator to ensure that we're creating an authentication mode that is coming from the server side, from the network side, and therefore is something that isn't able to be easily spoofed or compromised. For those of you who are aware of the GSMA are the Global Mobile Operator Trade Association. We are members of the GSMA and compliant with their Mobile Connect identity standards, which is important to some people and not so much to others. But for those who are operating in the mobile ecosystem, that's quite important. And a real cornerstone of what we're doing is around privacy. So we are aligned with and as compliant as far as it's possible to be with things like GDPR, California privacy law, NDPR, and so on, and take that privacy element very seriously indeed. So I have 3 slides quickly on how it works, and apologies, this gets into mobile acronym land quite quickly, but I'll try to keep it to a higher level as I can. So Ipification work very closely with mobile operators to deliver something that we call the GMID box. And the GMID box is a piece of software. It's not a physical box that we work with the operators to install on the operator side inside the operator firewall. And the GMID box creates something that we call a mobile ID. And a mobile ID is a single, consistent, persistent, SHA-based hash, which includes core information about the user, device, and the service that the user is accessing. So if I'm a user accessing a mobile service on my mobile device, the network that I am subscribed to, the mobile operator network that I'm subscribed to, is aware of and knows the mobile phone number that I have, known within the mobile industry as the MISDN, M-S-I-S-D-N, the unique ID of my physical mobile phone handset, which is also known as an IMEI, the equipment ID, and the unique ID of the SIM card that I'm using, the IMSI, which is the subscriber identity that is unique to each SIM card. If we triangulate those three things, and we can create an understanding for ourselves of the MISDN, the IMEI, and the IMSI of a user as they travel through the data network of the operator, and we add to that an ID for the client for the service that is being used, we can create a persistent hash, a single mobile ID hashed one way so no one can unencrypt it. That is effectively the possession factor of that device. It tells us which device, which phone number, and which SIM card that you have. We then use that as a token that when a service provider wants to authenticate into the service, they can retrieve that token to identify a user. So, for example, from the left on this slide, on my device, I make a request to a service. The service provider then makes an OpenID Connect request into our Ipification cloud. Our cloud queries the operator GMID box inside the operator network, which returns a hashed UID, which we then push back to the service provider. The service provider has baselined the UMIDs at the point that I subscribe, and can compare the token that I have now with the token I had before. If those two tokens match, we know it's the same user, same device, same SIM card, and we can authenticate the user using that mechanism. What this means is that we have the capability to deliver one client API for the service provider. There's no technology that the operator needs to deploy in order to deliver our solution, and no APIs that the operator needs to build in order to deliver the service. It's minimal cost for the operator because we're taking care of all of the tech from a software point of view, and we provide the global gateway, the cloud gateway you can see in the middle of this slide, that provides smart discovery, i.e. the ability for us to discover, to allocate an operator to a mobile number so that we know which operator to make the query to, and to provide a whole bunch of billing dashboard and other information, real-time transaction data, and so on to the service provider. So that's our solution end to end. And apologies to those who weren't expecting too many tech diagrams, but from a use case point of view, that technology, the GMID box and the mobile ID that we expose from the GMID box, then enables a bunch of different use cases. So all from the one technology. So in this use case, we can enable a passwordless login on mobile, where I am on my mobile device. I want to log into a data service, a social network, an app, a website on my mobile. Rather than using a username and password, the service provider can call our API. Our API will then retrieve the mobile ID from the operator side, compare that with the mobile ID that it already has, and if they match, can seamlessly authenticate me into the service. That can either be 100% completely seamless, or that can be part of a low friction use case, user flow within the service, where the user is being told that they have an instant access service, and by clicking instant access, you will now be logged in without any need for username, password, or any other barriers to entry. The same technology enables us to offer things like replacement for services such as SMS OTP. So we're not here to bash technologies that are already out there, but there is an increasing demand from the service provider merchant side for solutions to authenticate and verify devices that don't include technologies such as SMS. Where a service provider is using a one-time password to validate the possession factor for a user, our service, using the mobile ID technology that I described, can use the validation of the two mobile IDs to assert that a device is the same device that a user authenticated with the previous time, and therefore allow for secure authentication of that user in the same way that SMS OTP would do. We also have a bunch of other use cases that are beyond the realm of authentication that I just wanted to mention, coming from the same technology and the same deployment on the operator side. So you may be aware of the account takeover and fraud risk issues around the swapping of SIM cards in devices. If I'm a fraudster and I want to socially engineer an account or take over somebody's identity, a part of that is taking over their mobile phone account, and the way to do that is to swap a SIM card in and out of a device to have inbound messages diverted to me as the fraudster, and which I can then use for bad purposes. Our service, because we are tracking IMSI, IMEI, and MISDN, enables us to flag when a pairing between an IMSI and a MISDN changes, and then pass back to a merchant, to a service provider, that change has happened, either in the form of a date time or in the form of a yes/no to a query around a date time. But either way, we can then provide that information back to the service provider, who can use that information to carry out additional checks on that user, and so on. So I just wanted to throw that one in just to show that there are some additional use cases that our technology enables, some of which we will be discussing with the guys at Hitachi, some of which are by the by, but I just wanted you guys to be aware. And the final one, and the one that's very much relevant to the presentation that we're doing today, is a non-mobile device use case. So in the example of Hitachi and the Vein ID 5, you'll see from the next couple of slides, because that's very much a PC or non-mobile based service, and therefore isn't able to use the data stream from a mobile device in order to authenticate the user. We've created a mechanism to enable the user to authenticate using a QR code on a fixed device, by linking the QR code through to the mobile that you hold, and the mobile then authenticates using the mobile ID in the way that I described earlier. So this enables us to provide authentication via mobile device for any non-mobile service, whether that be on a PC, tablet, smart TV, or any other connected device, across touch points, across services, across verticals. So the demo that we've got is actually a video. I recorded the video earlier to show you what we've done, but before we go through that, I just wanted to show you what you're about to see, because as we always find with these demos, and I'm sure the guys at Hitachi suffer from the same problem with their technology, it's all so seamless and quick that it's actually very, very difficult to demonstrate adequately during the demo itself what's happening, and it's very difficult to pause a live login to show you. So we went for the video option, and we're very happy to set up live demos for anybody who's interested. But what you'll see from the video is that we've set up a test app. That test app involves the first step, the first factor authentication, being the verification of my subscriber status on the mobile side using the Ipification barcode login. So you'll see our user, who is actually Stefan from our Belgrade office, logging in using the QR code on his device. Then you'll see in step 2 that he will then land on the Vein ID 5 login page and click login. And on step 3, he will then go through the process of scanning his palm to complete the biometric element of the login as per the flow that Andy described earlier on, and then he's simply logged in. So let me just demonstrate that to you. So here's the desktop of the video of the service being logged in, and let's play the video. So you'll see we go to the demo use case, we click the QR code. Here we are clicking the QR code. In this demo, there's a slight latency as we hand over to the Vein 5. We enter our username, and then we kick off using the OpenID Connect API that Andy described earlier. We linked to the Vein ID 5, and we're logged into the service. So all very simple. This is the demo service. So this is just showing that we're now logged into the Hitachi showcase, and you can see the credentials from the login on the bottom of the page. So all very simple. What I wanted to flag before I conclude the presentation is that we are working with the guys at Hitachi, and Venu and Adam may want to comment on this later in the presentation. But we are working to actually remove some of the steps even in that flow. So that was the 2-factor flow involving, first of all, the Ipification device-based authentication, followed by the biometric from Vein ID 5. The step in the middle that you saw was around entering the username. We are hoping to refine that to use the mobile number as the username, and that mobile number, for anyone technical on the call, will then be passed in the login hint inside the OpenID Connect API call, and then that mobile number can be seamlessly used by the Vein ID 5 service as the username, and therefore we can remove the need for the keying in of the name there. So that'll speed things up, reduce even more friction, and make things even easier for the user. I'm going very quickly, and I do apologize for that. Final 2 slides. In summary, so what we're really excited about on the Ipification side is that this gives us an opportunity to work with companies such as Hitachi to overlay our authentication factor with another factor into one login flow, and that enables and opens up a bunch of new opportunities. The first one is that there's a whole bunch of new user-friendly multi-factor authentication use cases that we can address, which is great. We love the idea of combining the biometric and the mobile-enabled secure login modes to really deliver a new generation of secure and really neat UX authentication use cases. It's super low friction and super low cost to implement from the service provider side. It's simple for those guys to implement, as it uses a standard OpenID Connect interface, and it really does enable quick and easy new use cases, and therefore new revenues for the service providers and for the organizations who use it. So hopefully this is something from an enterprise point of view in terms of the 2FA login model that many enterprises use within their businesses, that would really help them deliver new and cheap authentication tools for their enterprise customers and for their enterprise users. And to summarize, the 5 key takeaways that I would like to leave you with our secure mobile authentication is an additional login factor that we can add to services such as Vein ID 5. It enables a mobile user login factor for digital services on any device. So it enables us to add that mobile authentication element in a very secure way to any device, to any service. It's simple, easy, and very secure for the user. And we found that the integration with the Vein ID5 service has been really super easy. And Adam and I and Venu and the team were, we were talking about this one day, and we had literally integrated in hours after we had all the kit. And the final one is that we're very, very excited to be working with the team at Hitachi on multiple use cases and how we might take this forward. As Andy said at the beginning, we're equally excited about the things that we could do together on this, and we're looking forward to discussing that some more moving forward. I appreciate that was a large amount of me talking. I hope that was not too quick, which I often get accused of. I hope that made sense, and I hope that was interesting. That's me done, Andy.
Jim, thank you. That was really interesting, and I think, as we've talked about before, not only is this useful from a mobile operator and telco point of view, but I think the integration between both of us starts to open up some interesting opportunities in other verticals as well, payments and lots of other applications where we can combine our technology with yours and really provide something different from what people have seen from other PIC providers. I think there's some real uniqueness here. Yeah, very excited.
That's great. We totally agree. Thank you for that, Andy. We totally agree. We're looking forward to working with you guys on investigating how we can do that.
Right, we have a question. I think I'm just trying to load the chat. It's Microsoft is taking a bit. Is the Ipification service provided as a standalone app on the phone, like Okta, or would it be integrated into a customer app or as an SDK, or are both possible?
It's an API and an SDK. So it's not a standalone app on the phone. If you have a service and you want to use Ipification authentication, then if that service is a native app on a device, we can give you an SDK that can help you use our service from within your app. We have an OpenID Connect client API that is available to anybody who isn't working on native apps. So it doesn't require another app being installed on a device. It is directly from the service provider into our cloud, or directly into a GMID box on the operator side, using our API.
Okay, good.
Great. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. Okay, I think that brings us to a natural conclusion. Jim, thank you very much. All the rest of the Ipification team for their support over the last week in getting everything ready. It's been excellent, and hopefully we will be talking again in the next few days. Thank you very much.
We're very much looking forward to that, Andy. Thank you to you guys for giving us the opportunity to present, and thank you very much for everybody for dialing in and listening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.